The Pretty Orphan. Author Kwabena Osei. A marriage or a relationship is not like a mere hot soup to be tasted and be dumped into a garbage can when freezing. Love unconditionally, else false love with its cover cloth of jealousy, fear and protectionism will make you wonder with nightmares of the ghost of deceptions. A wondermind with doubts in marriage is self-creating hurdles that eventually give birth to destruction. To be engaged in a relationship or in a marriage is a full-time job that requires sacrifice and perseverance. The mystery wind of love blows in its own directions. We can be coincidentally found ourselves in the arms of a lover whose nature and character may perhaps be a contradictory to our lifestyle. But when there is a will alike, when unconditional love and trust reign supreme, there is always a possibility for a successful marriage or relationships. When two angels of love are thrown into a chaotic living hell, they can eventually transform such a chaotic living hell into a living paradise through the mystery power of love. This precious book, The Pretty Orphan, contains the life-threatening story of an exceptional orphan being simultaneously sexually abused by her adopted father. Through courage, she stepped on the ghost of fear. She bravely confronted her father by denying him no more access to her sexual despot despite intimidations and life's threatening. This act of bravely triggered a fearsome confrontation with her father that resulted in swollen lips and a dark, bloody eyelid. Through courage and perseverance, she saw the mystery light of an escape hole at the end of the dark tunnel. Some awful situations and circumstances in which we find ourselves are the mystery keys that eventually open sacred doors for our liberty and freedom. Coincidentally, she discovered her orphanage status prior to the sympathy that her father's sisters had for her. Through frustration, pity and anger, Teresa, Janet's father's sister, was unable to harbor no longer from her the secrets relating to her orphanage status. Her agonies and miseries taught her a great lesson to be wised up. This obviously triggered both emotions of regret and hatred towards men. Many men paid the price of her cruelty prior to her sensual badass, which was her mystery weapon. Eventually, she was rescued by the mercy of true love by a handsome priest. The power of unconditional love transformed and transfigured her into a living goddess. She transformed her matrimonial home into the bed of roses with her experience in life, sense of justice, innocence, and unconditional love. Love can transform anything to be precious in life. To find pleasure in love is to love unconditionally. The power of love conquers all. The supreme power of love is extremely mysterious, strange, and psychedelic. Mankind is vulnerable to the mystery wind of love that blows in its own direction. Love is mankind's nature. In whichever pool of love you may peradventure find yourself in, the only option to free yourself is to learn how to dance to the rhythm of love with your innocence, unconditional love, and sense of justice. We can transform the living hell in which we find ourselves in life, marriages, and relationships into a living paradise through the mystery power of love. Love is the solution to everything alike, the remedy for all illnesses, including the mystery of death itself. Love is mankind's nature. It is our birth as right. There is no possibility of running away from yourself. To deny love when it knocks at your closet door is tantamount to running away from yourself. And is there a possibility to run away from yourself? We fall short to mystery power of love and its wind that blows in its own direction. We owe allegiance to the mystery power of love. The supreme power of love is the origin of the life force. Thus the essence of life is the divine love. Mankind came into existence through the mystery power of love. There is no possibility for mankind to control such a mighty mystery power of love through which it came into existence. To be engaged in love and sex relationships or in marriage alike, confront life with your idiosyncrasy is nothing but self-creating hurdles that eventually become your crucifixion cross. Mankind falls short to manipulate the power of love. It is only the false love created by the devil that can be manipulated alike, can be purchased with wealth. Even peradventure a person successfully purchases love with his wealth, there could be an imminent, far-reaching consequences. The ego's dominated mind of wonder and selfishness gives birth to deceptions and destructions. The only manner through which mankind can find pleasure both in life and in matrimonial home, with its extension globally, is to be engaged in relationships and marriages alike, confront the mystery of life with its sense of justice, innocence, and unconditional love. Love is invisible. Love is felt in each and every individual's unique way. You can only feel how deeply you are in love, but how a partner feels for you in love can only be demonstrated through actions. Human beings' thoughts are not foreseen on their forehead. The wise men say, action speaks louder than words. In some situations and circumstances, actions can be insinuated prior to personal interest. You will only know the kind of relationships or marriage in which you find yourself when deception is tearing you apart with an emotional regret. I have deliberately thrown enormous light on how to make the right decision when the mystery wind of false love knocks at your closet to avoid its destruction afterward in my book entitled The Wings of Love Volume 2. The subject itself is entitled Relationships, Nature's Approval and Disapproval. Life is very precious to offer your life as a ransomed sacrifice in the name of false love. There are some moments we are being presented with relationships or a marriage made in heaven, but lack of the recognition of the bodily senses and the mystery guidance, we consistently reject such precious gifts from nature. On the contrary, relationships or marriages made in the living hell by the devil, well polished, hidden behind cosmetics and fashions, we hastily embrace it without a second thought. Eventually it misleads us to the path of deception and suffering. This precious book, The Pretty Orphan, contains the story of a beautiful lady who was deliberately classified as the she-devil prior to her sensuality aspect of lifestyle-wise, which many innocent people considered notoriously. She trashed over men with her sensual beauty and dresses which of course left men uncomfortably tightened and miserable in their trousers. She was nicknamed the she-devil. She was crowned as Queen Jezebel by her colleagues at her working premises prior to her entertainment words in sexuality. Her seductive smiles and coerced sensual words obviously enlightened men with miraculous healing to have functioned respectively to find pleasure in their respective beds of roses. She was always the center of attraction prior to her genius-selected romantic words and wisdom that created always a lovely paradise's atmosphere for her colleagues at work. She was not a shy lady. She was a good listener, alike gave solutions to her male colleagues who were in deceptions prior to false love. Her absence at her working premises was nothing but chaotic living dead premises for her colleagues. She was pretty beautiful. She was intelligent, and not to mention her charismatic manner through which she embraced her colleagues at work. This aspect of lifestyle made her so exceptional and unique. Despite her jovial attitude, her sexual despot registered many men in her mystery daily, of which some got access just once to taste her sweet melodies. She deliberately gave wild kisses to those boastful, bragged men with pretentious promises of a bed of roses. As the Lord said unto Moses, "Your eyes will see Canaan, but your foot will never step on the land." She capitalized on their vulnerability prior to her sensuality and made fun of them. They will be knocking at her sacred door with numerous gifts, but an access to her kingdom's hall will elude them forever as their punishment. She deliberately punished men prior to sexual abuse from the age of 13 by her father, who she considered as her biological father initially, until her orphanage status was revealed to her by a sister to her father. This revelation encouraged her to break the chains of intimidation and life's threatening for total liberation from incarceration on the premises of her monster father, whom she previously considered as her biological father. She struggled through many means to trace her original identity. Unfortunately, the critical and the awful circumstances through which she was adopted made it impossible to trace her original family status. Fortunately or unfortunately, Janet survived at birth whilst her mother passed away. Her father was in his youth and fled from fatherhood responsibility. Both parents of Janet emigrated from a foreign country. Their identity given to the hospital of birth of Janet was not traceable. It was an unbearable situation for Janet to find herself in the mystery ocean of life forces lonely. Nature intervened on her part through James and Teresa. They embraced her as a family member and deliberately took care of Janet. Finally, the supreme power of love rescued Janet by presenting her with a handsome priest who eventually became her husband. Janet, knowing her orphanage status, took Cudjoe, her husband, as the unique family in her world in which she lives. She dressed and cherished her husband with unconditional love. Though there were awful ordeals in their relationships initially, yet through love and experience, she transformed her matrimonial home into a living paradise. The supreme power of love saw her loyalty to love and blessed her with triplets to enlarge her family. The supreme power of love can transform everything to be precious for mankind's pleasure. We can be engaged in marriages with partners whose nature may be contradictory to our nature, but when unconditional love and trust reign supreme, there is always a possibility for a successful marriage. The power of love conquers all. It is the remedy of all illness, including the mighty death itself. Download the full story from KOSAidoctrinesandpublications.com.